Hello and welcome to the channel's book club. Bobby Udoh, who is a popular Nigerian blogger and what you might describe as a nation-building evangelist, is the author of this book titled Nation Building: How to Build and Sustain a Developed Nigeria. It is a book that explores ideas for making Nigeria a stronger nation, and it is an essential handbook for nation builders everywhere. Bobby joined us to discuss the interesting views he shares in his book. Please join us after we take a short break. Bobby, it's nice to have you on the channel's book club.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. Your book, Nation Building. This is your first book, right?
It is. It is.
I'm eager to dig into it with you. But let's talk a bit about how you ended up writing a book about nation building. How? Why did you do that?
Well, the how will come after the why. Spent quite some years in the UK after my university education. Like many Nigerians, were Andrew, who had to pack up bags and run up. After many years there and being troubled by the state of the nation, that's Nigeria, I had to ask myself questions. Why is Nigeria in the state it is in, and what can we do about it? And the long and short of the story is, my solution after taking personal responsibility was to develop some ideas and put it in a book where any other person who shares the same challenge and seeks a solution can read and be guided on the journey towards building a developed Nigeria.
Before we go into specific details in the book, what was the experience like for you writing it? You weren't a writer before then, were you?
Yes, it's quite interesting because I never would have thought I would be called a writer. Having said that, my dad was a journalist, public relation consultant, and I've always said that he thinks that I had it in me, but I never gave myself a chance. A lot of it comes from when you seek to deliver a solution. You bring out certain things that in you that you never knew existed. So writing was one of those. It was exciting. I'd been 12 years in sales management, and one of the key attributes of the job involves composing proposals and writing persuasive emails. And the love of writing and being articulate in that writing was developed. But writing this book was challenging. The ideas that are not out there, so you have to do a lot of research and also seek to keep it simple so that when people read the book, it's not one of those big grammars which very theoretical. What we're trying to do is practical solutions that people can read and run with.
Okay, nation building. Let's talk about nation building now. Nation building. That's a very fundamental subject.
Absolutely.
Especially considering the season in Nigeria, where we have a lot of elections going on and so on. I've seen here that you've written about the need for building core values, the need for implementing nation-building principles, and so on. What's the problem with Nigeria? What have you written as a solution to Nigeria's problem?
In my work in the book, the point comes down to this one thing. We need to raise a critical mass of citizens who shift focus from self to the nation. And that's how I define nation building, to be the creation of thoughts, the expression of words, and participating in actions that seeks to build a nation. In summary, just to simplify it, we're trying to create a national consciousness, a number of citizens, and when we say critical mass, an influential number, it may not be the majority, but people who think about their nation above themselves, people who understand that in seeking to develop my nation, I'm actually meeting my own needs. So that's what nation building is, primarily. And when you look at that definition, you can see the problem there, which means that for a long time now, we are people who take care of our own needs and don't think about the nation. So we have mini nations, me, myself, and I. I provide my light, I provide my water, I provide my security. Every other person can go to blaze. And when we do this, all these mini nations are rivaling amongst themselves until we come together as a community and say that you and I form the nation. So I have to think about you, you have to think about me. And in our daily activities, we think not self, but the nation. Then we build a society where we can enjoy greater benefits.
Obafemi Awolowo,
Yes.
who was a prolific writer himself, once wrote that Nigeria is a geographic expression and not a nation.
Yes.
And one gets the impression from your book that we don't really have a nation yet. We need to start building one.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I mean, we all are fending for ourselves. And the expression is saying in religion, in ethnicity. The truth of the matter is, even within the ethnic groups, within religion, once we begin to form a community, when we begin to have strong communities, we begin to have strong ethnic groups eventually will come into nation, because a nation is a committee of families and different strong communities. But we have to come back to the issue of values. Many people say we've lacked the values needed to build Nigeria. And you ask yourself, what are these values we keep talking about? And in the book, I really had to hammer on the fact that it's one thing to desire a developed Nigeria. It's one thing to say we want to build Nigeria. It's one thing to say this is nation building. The foundation has to be, do we have the right values to enable us have these thoughts, sustain them, and translate them into the right words, positive words about Nigeria, and the right actions that will build Nigeria.
Achebe said the problem with Nigeria is leadership.
Leadership.
Here, you didn't really emphasize on the leadership problem. You didn't zero in on it as Nigeria's big problem, like most Nigerians will say. Why that?
Because I redefine leadership. Ours is a society where leadership is the guy in Asurok, the guy in the government houses. What I did here was to say that I am a leader. Anybody that takes responsibility, takes ownership for something is a leader. So my leadership starts from the home as a parent or a father. My leadership starts in how I parent my children. In regards to building a better nation, how I participate in activities in the community. So everything we're talking about, it's showing leadership. We talk about core values, it's showing leadership. Understanding why we have to build and participating in the actual building is the actual act of leadership. And I say, when we begin to do this, we build a momentum that out of which will come the people that will build a nation in Asurok and in the government houses. But I also say in the book that the building of Nigeria is more done outside of Asurok. That's amongst us, the people.
Isn't that a bit